Okay, guys, 3 minutes to go. Okay, Yousra, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, can you show yourself? I mean, switch on your camera.
Okay.
And you can share your PowerPoint. Okay, lovely. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, guys, I think 1 minute to go. So with a great honor and pleasure, I would like to welcome you all to this webinar, teaching methods and techniques in ELT. How we can add innovative. On behalf of English Language Center, University of Technology and Applied Sciences, Ibri-Oman, we would like to welcome our speakers from Tunisia to share with us um, innovative methods and techniques in ELT and their personal teaching experiences. And we are going to start with the first speaker, Yousra. Just I want to introduce her to you. So if you don't mind. Okay, Yousra is an English language teacher from Tunisia. She is a master's degree holder in English language and literature, specialized in cross-cultural poetics. Her degree was issued in 2011 from the Higher Institute of Languages, part of the University of Carthage in Tunisia. She is also a CELTA qualified instructor as a scholar She conducted her research on the performative aspect of literature and its role in shaping human identity. After the CELTA training, her major areas of interest have become more focused on positive teaching methodologies. She incorporates the use of podcast, video-based learning, TED Talks, simulation in her online courses with young and adult learners. And the topic of her presentation is about the use of podcast as an educational learning tool. So the stage is all yours, Yousra. So please, and let's welcome Yousra. Okay.
Thank you very much for this introduction, my dear colleague Faisal. So today I'll be talking about innovative teaching techniques. And as you told our audience today, the use of podcasts as a medium for learning. So let's start. So these are major highlights of today's presentation. So I'll start by talking about podcasting as an educational tool. So then we'll see how Bloom's digital taxonomy is applied in podcasting. After this, we'll watch a very short tutorial on how to create your own podcast using a virtual platform, which is Spreaker.com. After this, we'll discuss together interesting takeaways from the presentation. So without further delay, let's start. So now we're going to watch a very short video together, a snippet from this video, and I want you, while watching the video, please, I want you to take notes about the classroom dynamics. What do you think of this classroom? Do you think that this classroom is boring or interactive? Let's start.
In 1930, the Republican-controlled House of Representatives, in an effort to alleviate the effects of the, anyone? The Great Depression, passed the, anyone? A tariff bill, the Hawley-Smoot Tariff Act, which, anyone, raised or lowered? Raised tariffs in an effort to collect more revenue for the federal government.
So what did you notice in this classroom? What kind of interaction is it? So you can write in the chat box if you think this is a pleasant classroom to be or not. So just type yes or no, please. And this video highlights the quote, which says, "Tell me and I forget, teach me and I may remember, involve me and I learn." As we may notice in the previous video, the students were not really involved into the classroom activity. So the teacher talking time is higher than the student talking time. So the students, they were just sitting, listening to the teacher lecturing without being involved. And this is not what we want for 21st century education, right? So now we're going to brainstorm interesting ideas together. I'm going to share with you a link in the chat box about the idea of innovation in ELT. According to you, what is innovation and how far do you apply innovative teaching techniques in your teaching practice? So here's the link to MindMeister. Tell me please if you have received it in the chat box.
Yes, Yousra, yes, it is there.
Okay, so now you have to follow the link to have access to a map on MindMeister, which is a website. I use it with my students for a mind mapping for brainstorming. So once you'll be there, so this is what you will see on your screen. Now, please, everyone, so can you notice the plus icon, the plus button at the top part of the page? So you have to click on that, just like for Padlet and for all the virtual platforms to click on plus to add your idea to this spidergram. So if we say innovation in ELT, sorry, someone typed something, innovation in ELT. So you're supposed to add your comment here, the plus, so we can see interaction, very good. We can see using videos and pictures, yes. Any other ideas? What is innovation? So we have new. So nowadays, all teachers, they're techie and even students. So what can we consider as new nowadays? Change for improvement, creativity, participation. Nice words. So we still have 1 minute, so you can still add your comments to this map. So emerging technologies. No, please, the comment, you add it using the plus icon. So here this is the title. Okay. Skills. All right. Very nice ideas shared, everyone. So we'll carry on and see to what extent podcasting can be innovative as a teaching tool. So we're going to watch together a podcast that I used in class with an adult learner in a one-to-one teaching course. Before starting to play the video, can you please try to guess the context of this anecdote, of this story that I'm going to tell today? From the landscape, from what you see on the screen, where do you think this story is going to take place? So let's watch this short video together. So usually the podcasts that I create, they're not very long, so a 1 minute video. Let's watch it together.
There's a famous quote which says that traveling is more about the journey than the destination. I'm going to share with you a discovery that I made while being in Thailand in 2014. I went to a place called the Tiger Kingdom. This place is wonderful because tigers can live there peacefully. People can visit the safari and take photos with real tigers. Yes, real tigers. I was excited about this lifetime experience, but I was scared at the same time. My friends were taking photos with baby tigers, but I decided to take my photo with a big Bengal tiger. There was a coach who was taking care of the animal. He showed me a few techniques how to deal with a tiger without scaring it. Meanwhile, there was another guide who was taking the photo. Both of them stepped away but kept an eye on me to stay safe in case the tiger makes an unpredicted move. That was awesome.
So this is one of the podcasts that is available on Spreaker, and we're going to see later on during this presentation how can you create your own podcast and how can you teach your students do the same. So this is like the basic type of video podcast. So we're going to see another type of podcasting that I use in class, but this one is much more advanced. So you can teach it in higher education institutions, even to young learners. So what you do as a teacher, you model using this video as a tutorial, as a reference. You model this for your students, then you share it. For example, if you teach on Google Classroom, you share it with them, part of an assignment. They can watch it asynchronously at home at their own pace, follow the guidelines that you will provide them, and reproduce their own model, plus they add their good vibes and their creative part, and then send it back to you as a homework, as an assignment. So let's watch this together. So this is an extract from one of my favorite books, which is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. I have chosen this extract and then asked for my students to do the same to encourage them to read more. So this is for motivation to increase students' interest in reading.
Today I'm going to read for you an extract from one of my favorite books, The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. The boy's name was Santiago. Dusk was falling as the boy arrived with his herd at an abandoned church. The roof had fallen in long ago, and an enormous sycamore had grown on the spot where the sacristy had once stood. He decided to spend the night there. He saw to it that all the sheep entered through the ruined gate, and then led some planks across it to prevent the flock from wandering away during the night. There were no wolves in the region, but once an animal had strayed during the night, and the boy had had to spend the entire next day searching for it. He swept the floor with his jacket and lay down using the book he had just finished reading as a pillow. He told himself that he would have to start reading thicker books. They lasted longer and made more comfortable pillows. That was my favorite part of The Alchemist. I look forward to hearing your audio recordings from your favorite extract of the same book. Thank you very much for listening.
So now, before moving on to the next part of this presentation, did you notice any difference between the first video and the second one? Please, can you type your answer in the chat box, please? Any difference between the first video and the second one? Just yes or no? Yes? What kind of difference is it? So which one is more engaging? Thank you. I can see yes, yes. Okay, of course. So now we're going to see the basic. The second one is much more advanced. So if your students, they master the first level, you can teach them later on this next level, which is how to create an animated video. Okay, now let's have a look at the procedure of creating such videos. I based my methodology on Bloom's digital taxonomy. And as you can notice, podcasting figures out at the top part of the diagram. So creativity, sorry for the typo mistake here. So creativity, it's creative. In what sense? Because it includes all the previous stages in Bloom's taxonomy. So your students have to remember, for example, an anecdote, just like what I did with my trip to Thailand. Understand how are they going to draft the plan to their anecdote, how they're going to tell it. Apply it. After having watched the tutorial, they're going to apply, edit, record themselves, and then upload it. Analyzing, for example, mind mapping, they can use MindMaster as a platform. I use it so that to encourage your students for collaboration. It's a collaborative tool. They can evaluate and they can comment and rate each other's videos. They give feedback to each other. And finally, they can vlog, they can blog it. They can create a film, a movie, or a podcast, which is like the upper part of the diagram as a high order thinking skill. So for mind mapping, as I told you, you can use MindMaster. So you can type the word podcasting, just like we did previously with the brainstorming activity. And then you ask your students to add their ideas, and you will have like a mind map by the end of the activity. So first of all, they have to remember the detail, they draft the outline, and they carry on with the other parts of the process, which is, we're going to see it later on before the tutorial. So now, we're going to talk a little bit about the effectiveness of educational podcasts. So for those who have used podcasting before, can you please let me know in the comment box, but just type in yes. And for those who didn't, you can type no, you haven't used podcasting before in your lessons. So that to know approximately who has used podcasting, who has never used it before. So to have an overall idea. So we can see no. So today it's the opportunity for all of us to share this together, and we know more about the effectiveness of using podcasts as an educational tool, as an educational medium. So here I based my presentation on a research of students, 24 students who were interviewed about their feedback to using podcasts. So, and as we can notice in table number 3, some students, student number 1, for example, sees that podcast increases his interest in learning. Student number 2 likes podcasting because he or she can learn at their own pace. As I told you, they can download the episode and then they can use the podcast to listen to it while working out, while being out. So it's transferable, the podcast. It's not like linked to the classroom activities. So it goes beyond that. Student number 3 thinks that podcast is a convenient way to learn. So student 4 thinks it's effective to revise the course content, so they can go back and refer back maybe for the teacher's note. If the teacher, for example, what I do is I record a voice note as a podcast and share it with my students so that they have access to it anytime and anywhere. Student 5, they refer, for example, to the visual aids. Some students, they have, for example, some challenges. If they can hear very well, they can read. If they can't read, they can listen. So this is for differentiation. Podcasting, for me, is like a wonderful tool for engaging and involving everyone. And when it comes to the length of the podcast, we've noticed, according to this research, that if the podcast is less than 5 minutes, you have 24% of people interested in that. If it's more than 15 minutes, almost no one is going to listen to your podcast if it's too long. So, and this is retrieved from the effectiveness of educational podcasts for teaching music and visual arts in higher education. So since I'm specialized in arts and humanities, so that is what I wanted to share with you. Now, in order to create podcasts that meet educational needs, as a teacher, you might ask yourself questions. How can I know? How can I assess my students if there will be sent in podcasts? What is the, let's say, the rubric that I'm going to use in order to assess that? Or maybe the niche, if you teach, for example, ESP, English for Specific Purposes. So what are you going to focus on? So first of all, you start by choosing a niche that meets the program's educational needs. Develop a plan to your podcast. For example, the format, the length, if it's 1 minute, more than 1 minute, 1 hour podcast, full lesson. You create a recorded environment, which is like very essential for any podcaster, a quiet place that you will consider as your mini studio. But apart from this, no worries at all, because technology is evolving. You can use certain apps like Adobe, for example, to remove the background noise so that to have a clear audio. Finally, you record your podcast and then you host it and share it on the platform that we're going to see later on together. And then you will have it shared on public domain, on Facebook, on YouTube, Twitter, and everywhere. So before moving on to the tutorial, there are 4 categories now based on the purposes of this podcast creation. So it can be teaching driven, just like in our case. You record a lecture, you share it, students consult it for further reference. Service driven, for example, if you have a huge school or university, and for example, nowadays, because of the COVID-19 conditions, for safety reasons, you record, for example, a tour, an audio tour, and you have kind of a headset, and the visitor can listen while taking a tour at the video, which is very useful. I've noticed this while I traveled abroad, and I hope this will be worldwide. So marketing driven, for example, if you're teaching business English students, for example, there will be future entrepreneurs. They can gain money out of podcasting, so they can start podcasting, and it can be a career as a starting point for them, so that for self-pitching, so that to increase their profile visibility, so that everyone knows who's this person, either nationally speaking or internationally speaking. Technology-driven. Podcasting can be established part of cross-curricular programs. For example, as an English teacher, I can collaborate with an ICT teacher who can help me, for example, adjust some tech issues, for example. But here for me, like, I've found kind of the golden ratio, let's say, for podcasting, which is the basic one that I'm going to share with you without further delay, because like I explained maybe too much, but this is like to make it really clear for you and talk about how far I've been in order to go to this final stage. So the platform, so I've chosen Spreaker. So you can start by creating a free account on Spreaker. We're going to watch later on the tutorial and how exactly it's done. You plan, you record, and as you can see the verbs now that I'm writing in different colors: think, plan, record. You be patient with yourself because you might not get it right first time. Upload, customize, then publish. Now let's watch a snippet from the tutorial that I want you that I want to share with you, and it's about the Alchemist podcast that we have watched at the beginning of the session, and we're going to watch only a snippet of it.
Hi, this is the quick tutorial on how to create a micro video podcast using a pre-recorded audio file. After planning the outline for your narration and recording your anecdote, you can proceed by creating a free account on Spreaker.com. You can opt for the Forever Free plan, which gives you up to 5 hours of free podcasting bandwidth. Let's get started. You click on Create a New Podcast. You choose a title to your podcast. You choose the language, the category. You upload an image. You adjust it. You can customize it as much as you want. You choose the visibility to your podcast, whether you want to grant a public access to your podcast or private or a limited access. You can write a short description to your podcast and click on Create. Now your podcast has been successfully created, but not yet published. So now you click on Upload Episode. You select the audio file that you have recorded. Meanwhile, you can check the different features that you can see on the dashboard here. So your podcast has been successfully uploaded, but not yet published. So you click on Edit. You edit the title. You can keep this permanent link, or you can generate an automatic link based on the title. This is the direct download link. So this is the link that you can copy later on, and you can include it, you can embed it into your website or different social media. You can check the different features that you have for your podcast. You can add tags to increase the visibility of your podcast. In our case, it's educational podcasts, English, arts, literature. So you can tick this option if you want your listeners to download your episode later on. You can schedule a specific date when you want your podcast to be published, or simply automatically share it on different social media that you can see here on the screen. Once sure about your choices, you click on Save and then Publish. You confirm,
and your podcast has been successfully created and published. So that is the first part and the most important one, which is the basic technique how to create a podcast using a simple audio recording. You can record your audio using your mobile phone. You can record it using the online voice recorder online. You add a background photo. In my case, you can add your personal photo. You can add a copyright-free photo. And you have your podcast shared later on. You can copy the link, as you can see on the screen, share it anywhere. You can copy and paste this to an email, to Google Classroom, Facebook, anywhere. So, and that's it for my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. For further information, you can scan the QR code to my LinkedIn profile. I'll be sharing with you, if you want, the guidelines, the poster that I have created, this one, for how to create a podcast using Spreaker.com. And that's it. Thank you very much. And these are my references.
Okay, Yousra, would you like to ask the question, takeaways, or?
Excuse me?
Would you like to ask?
Yes, yes. Okay.
I think
so now the last part that I would like to ask everyone, what kind of takeaways can you take just from this presentation? What's the new thing that you've learned from this? I'd be glad to receive in your feedback in the chat box. So what kind of new information did you get from my presentation? If you have any questions, so we'll keep the questions for later on, as Mr. Faisal has said, but the takeaways, I'll be glad to read in your comments in the chat box. So thank you, my pleasure, my pleasure.
Okay, could you show the QR code, please? The slide with the
yes, QR the QR code. So that's if you want to keep in touch, or if you want to be part maybe of my course that I'll be launching for as a public course for podcasting. So you'll be able maybe to get more information about this, and maybe get the poster for podcast creation on Spreaker.com.
Okay, thank you very much, Yousra, for informative, amazing, insightful, practical session.
Thank you. Welcome.
And as I said, that okay, we'll wait the question. Okay, there is something written that the QR is not working.
Okay, so I'll just type my.
Yeah, because it doesn't show the full QR code. Now I think let me check.
So this is my email address. If you have any questions, okay.
Now it will work. Now it will work now, because first you showed the presentation mode. I mean, the first slide.
I'll share it again, just in case it's in full screen.
No, it's better to share it in not in full screen, because something missing here down.
Okay. Yes. Did you manage to scan it? It's manageable. So I did here. So you can notice it's my profile on LinkedIn is Yousra Growth Mindset. If you can notice it, everyone. So once you scan the QR code, you'll be directed towards my LinkedIn. Otherwise, I've dropped my email address in the chat box if anyone wants to get in touch.
Okay, thank you, Yousra. Now, can I ask, can you stop sharing? Now, let me ask Fatima, please. Fatima, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, very well.
Okay. Can you switch on your camera and Please share your PowerPoint.
Yes, my camera is switched on. Now I'm going to share. I'm going to present now. So.
Okay, guys, as I told you, please, if you have questions, please postpone them to the question and answer part of this webinar. Okay, so please, we'll give you the mic to speak directly to the speakers. Okay, yes, lovely. Okay, okay, guys, now it's time to welcome our second speaker, Fattoumi, and let me introduce her to you. Fattoumi is an educator at the Higher Institute of Information and Communication Technologies, University of Carthage, Tunisia. She teaches academic and professional English and prepares students for international tests, TOEFL, TOEFL, and IELTS. She is a PhD candidate specializing in cultural studies at the Faculty of Letters, Arts, and Humanities in the University of Manouba, Tunisia. She is a verified reviewer for Current Psychology Journal. And by the way, Fatima was my mentor for the last course, online course for blended learning. I myself learned a lot from her. And it was really my pleasure to take the course with you. And she was my mentor, she was my moderator, and I learned a lot. Her topic for today is about digital tools in blending learning towards enhancing students' engagement. So the stage is all yours, Fatima, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Yousra, for this lovely presentation. Thank you, Faisal, for the invitation. Thank you, the University of Technology and Applied Sciences, Ibri-Oman. I'm really happy, so I welcome all the participants. This is a great opportunity for many of us as teachers to meet together and these learning communities, which are very essential in these days. So today my presentation centers on digital tools in blended learning towards enhancing the students' engagement. So my outline so today is what is blended learning. Second, I'm going to deal with the conversational framework. And third, the conditions for implementing blended learning in the classroom. And finally, the teacher role, because many people would ask if artificial intelligence is going to take my place, what's going to happen to me? First of all, I want to ask the audience, what do you know about blended learning? So if you can type something in the chat. So do you have any idea the meaning of blended learning? Anyone has an idea? I think I'm looking at the chat. Is there anyone? Mixing two learning environments. Yes. Mix between online and physical. Good. So this is really the meaning that many people know. But actually, the meaning of blended learning is really broad. So blended learning is an umbrella term that includes not only the mixing of physical and online learning, but also it mixes other so for example, methodologies. It combines pedagogical approaches and tools, etc. So according to the European Commission 2021, blended learning is teaching and learning process integrating different factors. So here today, I'm going to present four main factors of these integration. The first is the learning environment. What do you mean by the learning environment? It's the place where the learning takes place. So we are not as in the early environment when the students are in the classroom and the teacher there with them. So things are changing because of the pandemic, and also in the post-pandemic. Teaching ways, we will be using this. So when we have learning happening at home, online, at school, synchronously, asynchronously, so there is a difference. So we have to take this into consideration. The second factor is competence development process. So it means the teacher's lifelong learning and professional training. It's really important that teachers care about this factor. The third is the affective or domain. This means that whether the stakeholders in the learning process are motivated, satisfied, or discouraged and frustrated. So if there is discouragement and frustration, so we have to deal with this. And finally, we have to know who are the people that are going to be integrated in this learning mode. The learners, the teachers, the parents, and other staff, for example, administrative staff. They have to take share in implementing blended learning. Okay, now you might ask why. So why should I implement new methods in my classroom? Well, there are many reasons. Employability of the students in the future. So we have to change because some people are concerned that the ways that we use today in teaching are not really effective. Even in online learning, when it started, blended learning, when it started last year in 2020, so many people were concerned with the fact that there was a lot of lecturing. The student is just receiving data. There was no interaction. So this mode of learning, it's known as acquisition. It means when we are sharing, delivering content to our students. And this type of learning really elicits the least activity on the part of the learner. So in the next slide, I'm going to introduce the new approach, which is called the conversational framework. This framework actually is not new, it's not nascent, so it really exists, but it's a combination of many methods. It integrates a lot of approaches that we used to teach with, but this conversational framework goes with the 21st century needs, and it also goes with the pandemic. The circumstances in which people have to stay home, and or some of us have to go to school and others to stay if they are sick. Or so this conversational framework actually integrates 6 learning types. Many people say, what does it mean, types? So that's why I
Okay, guys, I think there's misconnection from her side. Okay, I'm going to check with her. Please try to be patient. Okay. I think maybe she has problem with connection. Yeah, Fatima. I think
yes. I'm back. Yes.
okay.
Sorry. So I noticed that, so I went off, so I'm sorry for that. So it happens. Even this morning I lost my voice, so things happen.
So please, can you go
so
back?
shall I resume?
Okay.
Yes. So I'm going back. So this slide or the one before?
Please, could you please share the slides?
Yes. Okay. I'm sharing now.
Okay, guys, she's sharing the slides. Please wait. Okay.
Is it okay?
Yeah, lovely. Okay, thank you.
So, shall I resume here or shall I go back to the previous one? Faisal?
I think, yeah, you can resume. Okay, it's okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I go back to what I was saying. I'm sorry for my listeners. Sorry. So the conversational framework, I said it's not new. It's something innovative. It integrates 6 learning types. By types, we mean strategies. The 6 learning strategies are integrated into the learning process in which we have teacher-learner and learner-learner exchange at both levels. So we have acquisition. So if we speak in the computer language, we will have input, processing, and output. In the acquisition, it's output. When the student is receiving information from the teacher. So here there is no action, there is nothing to do, just listening or watching or reading. And if we want to move to the output phase, that means when we have production and we receive it from the student and we want to give them feedback, we should go through the processing steps, which are inquiry, investigation, practice, discussion, and collaboration. So you might ask, how can we do this? How can we facilitate this learning? So the answer lies in considering different conditions. So the conditions for implementing blended learning is first, which digital tools will be used in course design and teaching, not only in teaching, because in course design there are also tools, digital tools that we can use to design our courses. But I'm going to speak about one of them in the end of my presentation. The second is the environment, as I said before. So whether the environment is well equipped with the right technologies, internet connection and gadgets or devices. Are the learners tech savvy? Because this is really important. You cannot implement the use of digital tools while the students are not used to use them. And finally, do teachers with us have the right competencies? I'm also going to speak about this in the next steps. Now here in this step, I'm going to give you share with you my experience. So passive learning happens usually in the acquisition stage or in the input phase, when students are listening or watching or reading. They can listen to webcasts or podcasts, watching animations or videos, or can read multimedia web sites, etc. But this is really not enough, because they will be inactive. So they just read and watch and don't do anything. A good way that I learned from attending many MOOCs, so here is the flipped learning methodology. So if you can look here at this picture, so in the traditional classroom, we have the lecture that is happening in the class, and the students, when they go home, they do their activities. But in the flipped method, so we can have the lecture happening at home, that means asynchronously, and not in real time, I mean, and in real time, we can have classroom activities, whether online or face-to-face. And if you are giving a lecture, so at home to the students, you can motivate them, you can engage them. We're adding more activities. I suggest 3 activities here. The first, the students can use Padlet, for example. If you are familiar with this tool, it's very helpful and user-friendly. So they can use it to discuss. Actually, Padlet can be used in all the steps of the 6 steps of the conversational framework. The second is investigation. So what do you mean by investigation? It incites or asks so more action from the student. Investigation is when the students are going to ask for a question, whether they can get the answer from the teacher or from a website or whatever other sources they can get. So here, for example, they can use Mentimeter to collect and analyze data. Then they can use it to create fun and interactive presentations. I can also give them a practice activity when the students can use Socrative, Nearpad, Kahoot to answer quizzes. And in the processing stage here, I give you some examples of the activities that I actually do in the classroom. For example, in the inquiry and investigation stage, my students can use different tools. One of which I use is Google Forms. They use them to collect and analyze data, so as a preparation for the classroom activities. Or they can do them in class if they have the opportunity to do this. And the third activity or learning type is practice. Students can use a plethora of digital tools in which they can, or through which they can practice a lot of activities like Canva, Pixton, and there is a good one to practice speaking skills. I give examples here of VoiceThread and Flipgrid. The fourth learning type is discussion. So here the students, when they learn from each other, when there is a peer learning, or also they can learn from the teacher through discussion. There are many tools that can be used here: Slack, Padlet, Doodle, etc. So here the learning discussion comes before the production phase. Also collaboration. Students can use a lot of digital tools to collaborate. So when they also learn from their peers, there is Explain Everything, Educreation, Padlet, Boom Writer. So these all are the steps. Now I'm moving to the last step, which is usually left. So many teachers don't like this phase because the students are intimidated. They don't like to produce. For this task, today I chose to show you a good digital tool, which is Padlet. I think many of you might be used to it and familiar with. So the Padlet can be used to do a lot of activities, mainly production activities, whether speaking or writing. So for example, if you can see here, so we have the wall in which they can pin a lot of ideas here to share with their friends and the teacher. The Padlet gives you the option of commenting or even assessing the works of the students. And for example, this one, the shelf, so it's very important for expressing opinion. So students usually are intimidated, they don't like to share their opinion. And here, for example, on the map, so they can share content on a map. if you are teaching something related to geography, or so in English language teaching, we have some topics like this. And here some history topics, so they can upload or pin their ideas on a timeline, or express any or put any information there. Now here, many of us as teachers may ask, why are we, well, while I'm using all these digital tools, what remains for me as a teacher? Well, what I want to say here, your role is becoming more important, because you are the only person to guarantee that the whole process is going in the right way. Now, we might ask, how can we get to what we want to do? So I present today a new framework, which is the INCOL Blended Learning Teacher Competency Framework. This framework identifies 12 key competences. So they are organized into 4 large domains: mindset, qualities, adaptive skills, and technical skills. Now, if we speak about this in detail, so not too much detail, of course, but to understand what do mean by mindset. So a mindset, for example, for many people is something unalterable. So it doesn't change. If you have a way of, the way you think or believe of things doesn't change. But many research has proved that this is not really effective. So we have to believe in new ideas. New research, for example, introduced that. We have the example of Dweck here, 2015, who introduced the concept of growth mindset. What does it mean? It's the belief that you can improve. It's the belief that you can change to suit what you want to do in the future. For example, teachers here have to believe that they can do it. They can do online learning. They can integrate blended learning in their classrooms. We should not be intimidated by the fact that we are not technologies, tech savvy, so we don't know how to use it, etc. It comes through different other features. One of these features is the second, is the characteristics of teachers themselves. So also here, so we have to acquire these behavior of changing, moving, working, etc. These can come through adaptive skills. What do you mean by adaptive skills? We should adapt. So we have new circumstances, we should adapt. One or two of the main skills that we should use here are collaboration and problem solving. So usually we have these new trends of learning communities. So we should integrate ourselves in these learning communities to get improved. So to receive a good professional training. I'll give you in the end of my presentation some examples of this. And finally, technical skills. By technical skills, we don't mean only technology, we mean methodologies, training, practice, etc. So it's know-how, that means the expertise. So do you know how to do this or not? There are many factors that intervene in this. So in the end, these are the two examples I give you here. The first invitation is to the blended and online learning design, which is a course on Future Learn platform. The course is free. It's 3 weeks, 3 hours per day. So if you like to get advantage of the live delivery of the course, which is really good when you are following this, so you will get many benefits. One of them is that you get help from mentors, because mentors stay for 3 weeks and then they leave. Unfortunately, you have to upgrade, so you have to pay extra money to get a certificate. So this will be on June 28th, 2021. I will be mentoring this course. If you gonna join, so I'll be there. You can meet me there. And the second invitation, which is, if you don't have time right now, you can do it, and it's more flexible. First of all, you have to log on to School Education Gateway. So this course is very important, which I tried and found it very important. So it starts 25th of May 2021, but it will last to 29/3/2026, so many years. This course will help you learn how to start a learning community that is based on MOOCs in your institute or school or university where you work, in which many teachers can share, or they can make a schedule how to watch these MOOCs together, because these learning communities can help many teachers, because some courses or most of the courses are in English, so teachers can provide linguistic help, they can help with technical problems, etc. So it was really a good opportunity. The last thing here, example that I'm going to give you is the UCL Learning Designer, which is a tool to design courses. So usually we have a problem of designing, sharing, editing, etc. So the University of College London, so there was a research group led by Diana Laurillard in the Knowledge Lab, and they designed this so to help teachers share their teaching designs. First of all, you can, if you can look here, there is the name of Diana. So she put here many lessons. You can use them to start as a start. So you can edit them. It's not plagiarism, of course. So you can edit them, you can change the name of the topic, the learning time, the design, the description of your course, the aims, the outcomes, and it will be yours. It will take time to explain how to use it today. That's why I'll give you the link for a video or a tutorial that helps you how to use it. Or if you attend the course, the blended and online learning design course on Future Learn, you can learn how to use it and get practice, and then we will have peer review between teachers, so to evaluate our works. You can find it at learningdesigner.org, and in the last stage, these are my references. They might be very helpful for you if you want to understand more what does mean online learning. So in the end, thank you very much. If you have any questions or comments, these are my details. If you want to contact me to ask about the course or many courses, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Fatima. Please, could you share the links here in the chat box?
Yes. So, yes. After stopping sharing, I'll share so on the chat box all the links that I prepared. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for informative and really amazing, insightful presentation. Okay, guys, please, I will share the link for feedback and attendance just in a couple of minutes. Now it's time for questions. Now, if you have questions for both speakers, please, you can raise your hand. Okay, and then you can unmute yourself and ask the question. So both of them are stop sharing, so they can see the hands. Okay. So please, if you have questions to the speakers, please, you can raise your hand. So we have Yousra and we have Fatima. And just give me a time. Okay, just I want to share the feedback link. Okay, but please, if you have questions now, our speakers are ready. Just please raise your hand. Okay, I think that Yousra and Fatma, you can see the hands, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can ask them to unmute themselves and then, okay.
So they can unmute themselves and say whether the question is going to be for me or for Fatma.
Okay. Isam.
Yeah, hello.
Hi, Isam.
Hello, Mubarak is here. My voice is laudable?
Okay. Yes, Mubarak. Yes.
Assalamu alaikum to all. My question to the both speakers. First of all, thanks for the insightful session and extending my thanks to Faisal and to the management. My question, what do you do in your life outside work that is most inspiring? And what do you do? Keep learning and growing as a person. Thank you and thanks for the opportunity.
Is it a question for both of us?
Both of us, ma'am.
Yes, thank you. So you start, Yousra.
What do I do? I don't know. So go ahead.
If I understand the question, he means how can we manage to do this?
No, I'm talking about general, madam. General, both your personal as well as professional.
Can you type your question, please, in the chat box so that we can, because we can't hear you well. Can you please type it in the conversation box?
I will repeat it 1 second, madam. Okay, please. What do you do in work that is most inspiring? And what do you do?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Okay, I will type in the chat box. I'll send it to you. Okay, within 5 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you. Does anyone else have another question, please?
Good afternoon, all. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I have a question. I would like to ask. I raised my hand many times, okay, but I wasn't given the chance to do that.
Isam, I told you if you have questions, and everyone, if you have questions, you need to postpone it. I know that you are very active and energetic, but this is the rule. I'm sorry. I told everyone if you have questions, postpone them to the end. Okay, so now you have the chance. You have the golden chance, and then you can meet and speak to the speakers.
Okay. Can I speak right now?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Now, as I'm working as a MYB head, mid-year program manager or principal in an international school, and we underwent to the critical health situation because of coronavirus, the pandemic, and we used to work hybrid learning and teaching, mixture of face-to-face and online teaching. So what about the most effective methods, for example, in assessing students during the online period? Nowadays, we are conducting the final IB tests. So I would like you to tell us about some effective and crucial, for example, methods to assess our students fairly and reliably. That's my question.
Yeah, I understand your question. So unfortunately, there are not many ways to assess summative or a summative assessment. That means not many people now believe that we can do this online if we have a health issue, but we have a lot of digital tools in which we can use to assess or do the affirmative formative assessment. So that means you have for example, Socrative and Kahoot are different tools in which you can use and send quizzes, and there is Google Forms also. You can test your students through this. Now, actually, in my university, we couldn't do this online, and even in the most advanced countries, they couldn't do this, the tests or the exams online. We still, or many people are still working on this. So many people now try to do this, but we don't have still the good means to do the tests or exams online. Even though there are some ways, many people are not ready to accept them. This is what I meant by mindset. So many people will say, what about cheating online? So how can I guarantee that my students are not cheating? So many people would not accept this easily. So the progress, the advance is on the go. So we hope in the next coming months, time, that we can solve this problem.
Okay, we used here a good application or website named exam.net in addition to Zoom that we can monitor our students while doing their tests. Okay, do you think that they are effective tools, exam.net and Zoom?
It's a good tool. I know also many other universities who started this by using the HyFlex. So in America, they use the HyFlex in teaching. That means hybrid, flexible in teaching and even in testing. So these are good ways, but they are not common. So not everyone have access to these means. Maybe with time, so this can happen in different areas. So, but today, so I give you the example of my country. So the tests, the exams are still face to face. So, but sometimes we use the groups. So this is another type of blended learning anyway. So in America, they consider it another way. So because it gives flexibility to the teachers, to the university, to the school. So to have some groups today to guarantee that there is a distancing. So, but we don't have really this in our country, but many people are trying to find some solutions, and I hope so. Because we don't know whether the pandemic is going to stop this year, next year. So under these circumstances, I think many people are working to solve it out, to find solutions.
Okay. For example, on a scale from 1 to 10, okay, how do you rate, for example, the online assessment concerning reliability and fairness?
Concerning?
Reliability and fairness.
Yeah, so I said, so one of my colleagues used a platform, Coursera, so to test the students, and so she is expert in ICT. So it's not so available to everyone. So not everyone can do this. We need more training. So to do a test in which you guarantee reliability, so you need more training. So, but not everyone is ready now. So as I said, we need more training. Teachers need more training. We started with teaching first. So I think many people now are used to blended learning and in online learning. But for testing, so work is on the go. So not everyone is ready to adapt. Personally, I tried Google Forms. So I gave exact time to my students last year, not this year, because this year the situation was different. So last year, so I delivered the exam. So it was multiple choice questions, so exact time, etc. The exam was a little bit challenging to prevent cheating, etc. And it was amazing for me because I didn't find any proof that many students have cheated, or so it worked. But I'm not saying that it's going to work for everyone. So it depends on the teacher, the students. So I teach master's students. So maybe they are responsible. If sometimes you have other students who are not responsible. So that's why I said implementing blended learning depends on many factors. And the teacher is the only person who can judge whether to deliver the exam, and the administrative staff, of course, whether to administer the exam online or face-to-face.
Okay, thank you.
Another
sorry.
one more thing.
Isam, we want to give the chance to other attendees to raise hands.
Yeah.
You can contact them through emails. Okay, Yousra, would you like to add something, Yousra?
Yes, I would like to elaborate on my colleague Fatma to what she has said when it comes to Google Forms. I use myself Google Suite as a learning medium, and there's a feature in Google Docs which is called Compare Docs. So if your students, they submit their assignments on Google Docs, so you can enable that feature to compare the docs to check whether they have there's plagiarism or whether they have copied someone else's information. Also, in Google Forms, you can randomize. You can set even a password to the Google form so that your students won't have access to the exam unless they have the code. You can post it, schedule the exam on Google Classroom on the specific date of the exam with the code. Everyone will have access to the information at the same time. The questions, they're randomized, they're random. So, for example, if someone wants the answer to question number 1, it won't be the same answer as for the other students. So, plenty of tools available, and we trust our students. So, this is not to say that we don't trust them, but as teachers, we have to make sure we're fair and we assess them in the best possible way, and so that they get their rights by the end, and they get their grades. So that is what I wanted to add to my colleague's comment, Fatima. And
thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now let's move to Jalal. Jalal.
Thank you. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
hello.
Thank you very much for this opportunity, and I want to start by thanking both speakers from Tunisia, my country, living here in Oman and teaching in Musandam governorate, so teaching secondary school learners. I want to interact with you and start with commenting on Mr. Isam, saying something about the end of year exam as far as my experience is concerned here in Oman. And then I go directly to interact with you both, Madam Yousra and Fatma, if you allow.
Yes, sure.
Okay, so Mr. Isam asked about the way we can teach learners, we can assess learners, okay? So we can assess them by using Google Form documents. We can assess the 4 skills, the listening, even the listening, the reading, the writing, and production. We can assess them via Google Form. It's a good way, and it's reliable. We can also upload the listening part in a video, and learners can open the video or just click on a link, okay? So they can listen and answer the questions, and then move on to the different parts of the exam. The writing part, they can also write on a paper, and they can take a picture and then they upload it in order to make sure that they do not copy and paste. This is what we are doing right now. For the formative assessment, we can use a variety of different, applications pertaining to Google, okay? So because we work with Google Classroom as a major platform, we can use the Kahoot, we can use Nearport, WordWall also in the form of games. So we have a lot of games. We can assess learners and give them a chance to learn and to know from each other through playing games. Formative assessment is basically through Jamboard, Quizlet. Quizlet is for vocabulary. We can also use Google Document, as Mrs. Yousra said, Google Document. There is also an option when students write, we can use Kami to comment on their writings. Kami is a good tool, really, because we can highlight the mistakes, we can insert comments, we can record voice also and insert it. It's really interesting. I need to move on now to comment on Mrs. Yousra and Mrs. Fatma. So let me start with
quickly. We have other hands raised, Jalal.
Just
We
quickly,
can't hear you.
just in two
Okay,
sentences, quickly.
okay, go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Two sentences, okay. So,
Okay.
Mrs. Yousra, I want to ask you, how can in which way or in which part of the lesson does using podcast work better? In the beginning of the lesson, or we can also invest this at the end of the lesson, and we can move from teacher-centered podcast to learner-centered podcast, where they create their own videos, their own, they can integrate the sound, they highlight, and they write some, okay? You got the idea of Filmora?
Yes, yes, got the point.
All right, and then Mrs. Fatma, you talked about you talked about. Sorry.
Sorry, yes.
Yes,
Can
you talked about passive skills. Okay, so I would like to opt for receptive skills rather than saying passive skills, because when learners listen and read, they have or they do a great mental effort in analyzing, synthesizing, criticizing, and then making meaning. They construe meaning, okay? So we would better say it's a receptive skill rather than passive. And I thank you very much for the idea of blended learning, because we need it today. In the coronavirus circumstances, we need to adapt, and the adaptation is a natural process, and it is an active process. Teachers need to adapt their practices, and learners need to adapt their practices also. Thank you very much.
So I'll start. So thank you very much, Mr. Jalal, for your interaction and for your question. So in my context, I'm using podcasts as a PBL, as a project-based learning. So your question was like, in which stage of the lesson can podcasting be used? It can be used as an exposure, as a warm-up activity. It can be used as a modeling for PBL, for another project. Students can create their own portfolios later on, depending on the project that you're leading with your students. What else? So as a teacher, for example, I can start set the context for my students using my video, show them the steps. They can study, they can even draft their story in breakout rooms in case they are taking the lesson online. If it's face-to-face, the teacher can split the students into groups. They can draft their anecdotes, their stories, share feedback with each other, and at as a follow-up stage, they can create their own audios, videos, and send it back, and we can watch it in class, either online or blended learning context. So I had even, this can be done even as within the flipped classroom model. So for example, you can give all the materials to the students and explain everything using the audiovisual materials. And after that, as a teacher, you can discuss this back again in class with your students. So did I answer your question, or?
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Okay, Fatima, please.
Okay, so my colleague mentioned that I used passive learning instead of, so he suggested that we use another term. So here, what I meant by passive is that there is no production, there is no. Here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I do.
You're audible.
Okay. So here, in terms of production and practice, I know that even when we are sleeping, so we are still thinking, we dream, we see things, etc. But we are speaking here about production and practice and discussion. This description I used because I'm comparing this activity acquisition to the other activities. So in investigation, there is action. In collaboration, there is action. In discussion, there is action. In production, also there is action. But when you are sitting in front of a video, there is no action. Maybe your mind, but I can't see it. So this is what I meant. So here, I meant that it demands from the student the least activity. If this is satisfactory for you, so.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. So you meant like acquiring and learning. So in this case, we can say that we learn and the mental process is conscious. So we notice the gaps and we focus on form. And instead of learning, like in the sense of acquiring, that goes naturally. Okay. So thank you very much for the idea.
Thank you.
Now let's go. Kashif, please. Could you please unmute yourself, Kashif, if you can. Can you hear me, Kashif?
Thank you. I hope everybody can hear me.
Yes, you're right.
So I just have one idea in order to improve the assessment, digital assessment using the online method. That if we conduct the assessments as time scaled, for 5 questions, students have only 10 minutes. I believe it can reduce cheating process to 0. I believe so. If we restrict the assessment within the time frame, just like TOEFL, IBT, I mean internet-based TOEFL or internet-based IELTS. If it is time restricted, that for 5 questions for listening, for example, students have only 15 minutes to answer the questions. So definitely they won't have the freedom to play the audio multi times. They would have to listen and answer within the given time frame. Secondly, they cannot seek help from anybody. Because after 15 minutes, that block, either it is listening part 1, reading part 1, vocabulary, grammar, whatever we are doing. So that would be blocked. Students won't have any access after that 15 minutes.
Yes.
And we have to work on it because only issuing the degrees and certificates to the students, considering that we are suffering through pandemic, that is issue, no doubt. Everybody is facing pandemic, but it doesn't mean that pandemic should also award free degrees to the students. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kashif. Thank you for valuable comment and addition. Okay, now let's move to Omar. Please, Omar. Could you please unmute yourself and speak to the speakers if you have a question, please, or comment? Omar? Can you hear me, Omar? Okay, Javed? Javed?
I would like to ask, how could we stop cheating in online exams? Could you hear me, please?
Yes.
My question is, how could we stop cheating in online exam? Because when there are online exams, I found all of the students actually they have freedom to cheat, copying and pasting from the Google, just rephrasing the sentences, and they found almost 90%, sometimes 100% marks. So how can we avoid this problem?
May I answer this question, please?
Please, can we give the mic to the speakers first, and then you can join, you can add. Okay, did you get the question, Yousra and Fatima? How to avoid and stop cheating in online exams?
First of all, I want to ask Jabir, so have we done this in face-to-face? Have we stopped cheating in face-to-face? No. So cheating always exists, but it depends on the way you design your test, the timing, the technology you choose to do the test. All of this integrate together, so you have to be aware of the ways that you are going to use in order to reduce, to minimize cheating. But generally, we cannot stop cheating because even in face-to-face cheating happens. And this is my idea. I don't know if you agree with me or not. Thank you.
Yes,
May I add
yes, I
something
agree.
here?
Yes, go ahead.
It's like, who's
Hello?
speaking?
Sorry, I would like to add here just in face-to-face mode. Yeah, we have variety of ideas to stop cheating, and yes, we are. You can say 80 to 90% we are successful as well. But in online, really, I found it's really difficult.
I suggested one way that if you have the right technology, you can use the HiFlex, which is you have a room full of cameras and you have access to all the students. You can watch them, you can control them, but this depends on the technology you have. So if you cannot implement the right technology, so you have to look for other ways. So we have to think of other ways. If you cannot see the students, you have to guide them with time. So in Tunisia, for example, if we are studying to get the driving license, so we have something called the code. So it's limited by time. So for each question, there are 3 minutes or 2 minutes or so whatever. So usually time is a good way to limit cheating. So there are different ways. So I gave you 2 ways, but it depends also in the technology because the teacher is not tech savvy. Any teachers, for example, English teachers still need from ICT technicians to do these tasks, etc. So not every time. So we need time to learn. So many teachers need more time to learn to do this. Yes, Yousra, please.
I'd like to add a point to your valuable comment, Fatma. It's all about raising awareness. So we're teaching students not only soft skills and life skills, so we should make them aware that cheating should not be part of the learning journey. If it's there, and it's there, either in face-to-face or online, we have, for example, different platforms that we can check for plagiarism. Plagiarism checkers, they're everywhere. So if your student knows very well that you are using as a teacher that one of those plagiarism checkers, they won't, because the work should be authentic. And if it's not, you show them that the rubric, for example, if for you copy, you'll be penalized. So it's all about raising awareness and growth mindset, as you've mentioned, and what we want. We were raising global citizens, we're raising awareness, so that cheating should not be part of the journey, either in real life or the academic life. So that is my comment when it comes to cheating.
Okay, thank you. Let's Mubarak, would you like to ask your question?
I just sent the questions in the chat box.
Okay. Did you receive the question, Yousra and Fatima? And okay.
If you want to read it, I'm ready to read it.
Okay, wait. Dr.
I
Michelle,
just would like to say thank you very much, both of you, for the response.
I couldn't see it, so if you like to read it, please.
Again, thanks for the opportunity. What do you do in your life outside work that is most inspiring? What do you do? Keep learning and growing as a person. Thank you.
I suggested many ways. So I said we attend MOOCs. So this is very good way. That means to improve professionally. But there are other ways that also I suggested, that you create your own learning communities, that is school or university or institute based. These communities proved to be very efficient because teachers might find many difficulties even when following these MOOCs, because they are all in English. You cannot find many MOOCs in your native language. So this, for example, linguistic barriers, so you can help each other. There is also the technical barriers, so you can help each other. So while you are learning together. So here, these communities can help us so improve. We are attending webinars, we are studying, so learning, and also we enjoy peer assessment. So when you attend the MOOC, so you will be assessed by a colleague, and you will assess maybe 2 or 3 colleagues, and you will be assessed. So this exchange, so we are exchanging ideas. No one is learning from or teaching the other. We are teaching each other and learning from each other. And this is the growth mindset that I'm speaking about.
Thank you. Yousra, would you like to add?
Yes, same as my colleague said. For example, in my case, I'm active in a teachers association, so you can learn in professional learning networks with colleagues. Just like Fatma has said, we learn with each other and from each other. So for example, TESOL International is a great learning space to teachers worldwide. So webinars, just like this webinar. So we have the chance to meet and to know each other, even though everyone is in a different part of the world. So being active, taking MOOCs, just like the one Fatma is mentoring on Future Learn and on the other platform. Sorry, I forgot the name of the other platform. LinkedIn, for example, provides a variety of free courses unlocked for free for 24 hours for those who use the basic LinkedIn account. So you can learn knowledge now. It's the age of open data. So it's up to you. Either you want to learn, or you don't want to learn. And when it comes to personal life, self-care is important. So as a teacher, it's good to go out for a walk. It's good to meditate. It's good to take care of yourself from time to time, so that because no one can pour from an empty cup. So if you are happy as a teacher, your student will notice that. The energy is shared. So and same, we get the same energy from our students. Having an active classroom and having a positive learning environment can enable any student to be a successful student and later on like a good citizen.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Mustaba, please. Please, if you can hear me.
Thank you very much for this opportunity, organizers. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
Perfect. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm joining you from the American University of the Middle East, Kuwait.
So please, could you mute yourself? Okay.
All right. Can I continue?
Yes. I'm talking about others. Please, moderators, could you help me spot out this guy? Michelle, Mariam, please focus.
Cum ești? Iar ai
every language has its music, and it's so nice to hear, different, though it's not the right opportunity, maybe. All right. Thank you very much for this opportunity, organizers. It was really very refreshing to get those new insights from both the learned speakers. I'm joining in from the American University of Middle East, where we, like Yousra said, we have, and Dr. Fatma said, we have fantastic tools and technology to anticipate and help students, to avoid cheating, and for instructors to validate the work as authentic. There is a lot of concern among educators about academic integrity in this context. However, we need to realize, and I'm going to build on what Yousra mentioned, that it takes a village to raise a child, as they say. We can't just expect online learning to do character building for us. We cannot develop integrity and all those lovely attributes and virtues only on the basis of online. If someone has the propensity to cheat and to have some kind of, academic dishonesty, that is going to reflect in varying contexts. As an educator, the techniques that I have tried to use and I've found them useful have been using a variety of assessments, not keeping the same types of assessments, using a variety of assessments in which we can also include several presentations, individual discussions. These assessments give us an opportunity to validate if this guy has written all this, is she able to talk about it, or is she able to, present this information? So, number one, we should not assume that online learning will also have, the responsibility of raising a, building character and academic integrity. Number two, use of, a variety of tools. If we bring in variety of assessments, it could be a combination of oral assessments, Turnitin assessments. If you want to have normal submissions, some of those. If we use a variety of these, then we can, to a great extent, overcome. Plus, the reason why students cheat is because good grades, high academic performance, this is highly incentivized. People really look up to those with very good grades and all. So we really need to drill in the idea that it's not just about grades, it's also about participation. It's also about, whatever we teach the students in our sessions, whether offline or face-to-face or online, we all know that they're going to forget it in 6 months, 8 months time. We know all this because we are teachers. It's our job. It's our job to remember all this. That's exactly why we remember it. So raising the awareness, like Yousra said, about not just the importance of grades, but larger participation and activism is something which will help. Thank you very much for this opportunity to present my thoughts. It was really an enriching experience.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Omar, please, if you have a question, please unmute yourself. Omar, can you hear me? Omar? Okay, guys, I think, I will leave the chat on. Sorry, it's time to end up. I would like to say thank you very much for everyone, for participants that I think that over 180 have joined us for today from over 40 different countries all over the world. Thank you very much for our speakers from Tunisia, Yousra and Fatima. I would like to meet you again and again. Thank you very much for everyone. See you later. Okay, I will keep the chat on so you can chat with the speakers. Okay, bye bye.
Yes. Bye. Thank you.
Take care. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
يكون تصور